Well, the one thing to keep in mind is 19%. I mean, that when you think of all the reasons why not do a radio show to solve your prospecting problem, I'd ask you to think about 19%. Now, are you going to get there? Frankly, you probably won't get that high. But might you get 6? Might you get 7? Might you get 8% close rate because of the quality and depth and speed of the relationship you can establish and develop with a radio show? Yeah, you're going to hit the mid to high single-digit close rates out of it. I mean, that's been our experience. Well, one of the things that I hear from sales professionals all the time that frankly makes me smile is a comment like, well, look, get me in front of the decision maker, they say very confidently, and I'll make that sale. Well, okay, on the one hand, that's probably an accurate statement. On the other hand, it begs the tough question, and that is, how do you get in front of the decision maker to begin with? That's really the hard part. That's what I always view as the prospecting problem. I've got to somehow break through the gatekeeper, break through all of the noise, and get enough of that decision maker's attention to schedule a meeting with me to begin with. That's the tough part. That's the prospecting problem. In my mind, it comes back to a more general principle, and that is every single piece of my sales process from beginning to end needs to provide value back to the customer. So it's not just the end product or service that I deliver that provides value. It's all the steps along the way to getting to that the use of my product or service. This concept is particularly tough to implement at the very, very early stages of the sales process, where I frankly have little or more likely no relationship at all with that decision maker. And that's where the radio show approach to doing that gain attention phase of the sales process is quite effective, because I'm coming right out of the gate actually providing value to the customer. Well, you're right. I mean, it's a very different approach. And again, the key to it, as I said earlier, is value. There's value in my prospecting, and since I think I can be pretty unique in providing value out of the prospecting part of my sales process, that I'm going to differentiate myself. I'm going to stand out from the crowd. Now, I really don't want to move on to the next topic, because there's one more aspect of solving the prospecting problem with the radio show that I think is very important. Now, I talked about so far the solving the prospecting problem piece of it, getting that face-to-face meeting with that decision-making executive. I mean, absolutely, that's key. That's what I'm really trying to get done. But there's a more strategic aspect to it as well. Once I've done 20 or 30 or 40 or 100 different interviews, I have built up a pretty amazing body of knowledge. And if I also take that and index it properly with the right kind of keywords and say put it into a blog that's searchable, now I have got a search engine magnet. I've got search engine optimization out the wazoo, frankly, because I have all this knowledge. It's going to be on my radio show page of my website, and Google's going to crawl all over that thing. So from a more strategic perspective, not only have I established that initial relationship with an individual, very rifle shot target, I also have all this content that Google and the rest of the search engines really, really like. So from a more strategic perspective, when somebody out there is doing a search for, to continue the example I used before, the IT development services, if I key into a Google search, IT development services, and I've got all this content out there in the radio show format, the odds of someone finding me and picking up the phone and calling me to do the business is increased as well. More strategic, takes a while to get there, but it's no small thing in terms of solving the prospecting problem. Well, I'll talk about my favorite example, and let me acknowledge up front, this is the most successful prospecting radio show that we've done. This is over a 19-month period. This client of ours conducted 167 interviews. So interviews with 167 different decision-making executives, closed 32 contracts. So if you do the math, that's a 19% close rate, and not 19% from some kind of a quote qualified prospect. This is stone cold contact, 19% falling out the back end with a deal closed. And in fact, it's actually a little bit higher than that 32%, because there was some number, I believe it was 6 or 7, actually bought more than one thing. But we take it back to how many of the prospects actually bought. Now again, that's the extreme extreme example. That's the most successful one we've had. In most cases, it's more back in the 6 to 8% range, so not as dramatic as 19. But if you take a look yourself, go back to your own close rate and see if it's anywhere near 6 to 8%.